only get one chance to make a first impression, and today our squads are going to do their best not to look like morons. We've got Deliberately Offensive, a team of 25 of the most elite offensive players from throughout history, without a pitching staff, visiting the New Jersey Turnpikes, where all you need to do is be a criminal to punch your ticket onto the team. The story of this game, and likely every other game that features the offensive, is going to be the pitching. Today they're sending out the one guy that has a little bit of pitching experience in Babe Ruth. He barely touched the ball in the last 15 years of his career, but it's better than nothing, which is what everyone else in the clubhouse is bringing to that table. Unfortunately, Deliberately Offensive will be blowing its tiny proverbial pitching load when they're opposed by one of the all-time greats in Dwight Gooden. On at least 5 different occasions he was in the running for Cy Young, but let's see how he fares against a team of legends. Let's jump right in. Gooden holds him scoreless into first, so we're going to go to the bottom of the inning and answer the question of just how this pitching experiment is going to work for Deliberately Offensive. LaFleur leads it off, and he sends a little bloop out to shortstop. No problem, 1 up, 1 down. Sheffield follows with a line drive out to center, but it's right at Mays. And that brings up Pierce Shoelace. He also goes out to center, but that one's going to make it over Willie Mays' head. Shoelace is going to roll into second with a double, and we have a man in scoring position. During the next at-bat, Ruth actually balks. Now, we hear after the game he got in an argument with the ump and told him, "I don't know what a balk is." The ump pointed out that balks have been around since the late 1800s, so it should be well within his wheelhouse. And Babe replied, "Well, yeah, but the point still stands." Anyhow, Akins ends up walking, which brings up Jerry Martin with a chance to get the Turnpikes on the board first. But he sends a little dribbler out to third base and is retired. There we go, Babe Ruth survives the first inning. There's hope yet. And so we head to the top of the second. Willie Mays has already reached first via a walk, and he's off! New Jersey chucks it into center field, allowing Mays to advance to third. With Robin Yount at the plate, we'll see if they can capitalize. Sure can! That opens the scoring of the game. Offensive is up 1-0. And I don't know if the blunder is thrown good enough, but that's where things start to go off the rails a little bit. Ruth walks, Cap Anson walks, and Rogers Hornsby walks, this time scoring a run. 2-0 offensive. Gooden recovers and gets out of the inning, so we go to the bottom of the second to see if the Turnpikes can fight back. They do fight back, and it comes from maybe an unlikely source. If you need a reminder that Doc Gooden's also pretty good with the stick, let this serve as it. He puts a little single out there to plate Gates Brown. They make it a 1-run ball game, 2-1 offensive. The fighting really begins in earnest in the bottom of the third. Runners at first and third with Jerry Martin at the plate, and he pops a little single out to right field to bring home the tying run. Runners will remain at the corner. And here's Rafael Furcal. He also singles out to right field, giving the Turnpikes the first lead of the game. It's 3-2 New Jersey. We go to the bottom of the fourth now with Willie Akins at the plate and a man on base. And I hope that ball has alimony money, because that's not coming back. 2-run home run for Akins, 6-2 Turnpikes. The coach has seen enough and things are about to get weird. Here comes Hank Aaron in relief. We go to the bottom of the sixth. Aaron has actually gone an inning and 2/3 without giving up a run, but after a single, the experiment continues as Albert Pujols comes in to pitch against Willie Akins, who we just saw homer. And my gosh, is that a double play ball? 1-4-3, Pujols is out of the inning. The Turnpikes have gotten nothing off these position players on the mound, but offensive isn't showing up with the bats. Rogers Hornsby says, Are you blowing my horn? I hear horns. Those horns be blowing for me. 2-run shot. Cuts the lead in half. It's a 6-4 ball game. The score remains 6-4 as we head into the ninth, and the Turnpikes have to hold them. Fortunately for them, an ill-advised punch to a father-in-law has landed one of the most elite closers of all time on their team. It's K-Rod. Let's see how he fares against these legends. Hornsby's back at the plate, fresh off his 2-run home run, and he sends a liner out to right field, but it's right at him. That brings up Barry Bonds. Thanks for playing. Last chance now for Deliberately Offensive in Jimmy Fox, and he goes down swinging as well. New Jersey Turnpikes finds themselves in the win column, and Deliberately Offensive is stuck wondering what might have been. Let's take a look at how this one shook out. I'm going to skip down to the story of the game for deliberately offensive. They were given a gift. They were given a 2 luxury vehicle in the driveway of a middle-class family like this is a totally normal thing to do sized gift. Between Hank Aaron, Albert Pujols, and Lou Gehrig, they went 4 1/3 innings, allowing 4 hits and 4 walks, but keeping them off the scoreboard. You've got to cash in. But the main reason they didn't is Doc Gooden. It was an absolute grind, in part due to the 7 walks that he distributed, which forced him to throw 146 pitches over 6 2/3. But he held deliberately offensive at bay. We'll see if this team can live up to their name in Game 2.
Hello, I'm Hamish Hamden. This is Union Jacks versus the Big Bones. Yes, it's the Brits versus the Bigs, as the best of Britain takes on the biggest players to ever play the game. We're picking things up in the top of the first. Great chance for the Union Jacks to start the scoring. Nickel and Brown have both singled. Men at the corners, nobody out, and that's a strikeout from Thompson. Next up is Brain, and that is not big brain time. That is a can of corn, or because this is the Union Jacks, that is a can of Heinz baked beans. CC Sabathia gets Higham to strike out, and that ends the threat. Let's jump to the bottom of the third, and it's the Big Bones getting buoyed by Billy as he takes off the second. Who would have called the Big Bones having the first steal of the game? Kung Fu Panda singles to get men at the corners, and after a hit by pitch, it looks like we're finally going to see some runs. And there's a strikeout. And there's a strikeout. Chalmers gets out the inning, but we are still seeking our first runs of the game. Here's George Hall at the plate for the Union Jacks, and did you bet on him having the first runs of the game? Well, he probably did. He's been banned from Major League Baseball for betting. But he's back with the Dogs, and he's put the Union Jacks up 2-0 with that shot. The Big Bones hit right back in the bottom of the 5th though. Would you believe Dimitri Young averaged 3 triples a season during his Major League career? Well, he did, and that gargantuan man is legging out another triple. Evan Gaddis with a single, and that puts them on the board down only 2-1. Top of the 6th, and Dave Brain is not taking on 3-0. He treats that ball like Britain's relationship with the EU and absolutely destroys it to give the Union Jacks a 4-1 lead. Let's head to the top of the 7th, because like Humpty Dumpty, this game is broken wide open. CC Sabathia is still in this game, and after giving up a single and a fielder's choice, Nickel steals second. The Big Bones use big thinking to intentionally walk the number 2 hitter to get to the heart of the order. But unlike the Big Bones, this heart is not clogged with cholesterol. Thompson singles to make it 5-1, and then here comes Dave Brain again. The 1907 National League home run leader for the Boston Beaneaters, and yes, that was their name, know your history, shows the ball more disrespect than the British tabloid show Marcus Rashford, and this game is all over at 8-1. But maybe not. It's now at 8-4, and that fielder's choice makes it 8-5. But here's an easy pop fly to end the inning. Wait, what's this? It's every Brit's worst enemy, the sun. Not comfortable with seeing that weird flaming ball in the sky, Hugh Nickel drops the ball and suddenly it's an 8-6 game. A 2-run ball game in the bottom of the 9th now. Can the Big Bones complete an amazing comeback? Hope Ferris, who once accused a teammate of poor play and kicked him in the face as punishment, will be hoping to avoid the same result as he botches an easy play to bring the tying run to the plate. But Danny Cox has had enough of this. He wants to get down the chippy, strikes out Vargas, strikes out Eldred, and the Union Jacks take the season opener. So what did we learn? Dave Brain is a better poker player than most because he knows what to do with a pair of Union Jacks. Carlos Silva has an ERA to match the number of lines in Poe's The Raven at 108, and despite having less hits and more errors, the Brits get some proportional revenge for 1781 and claim victory.
We're going to jump right into our second Group A game featuring the Week Prescriptions, a collection of the wildest pitchers and worst fielders of all time, against the 2019 Detroit Tigers. Losers of 114 games in 2019, making them one of the worst teams of all time. Let's go to the first. If you're on the prescriptions, you can't field the ball, but if you can't field it, you must be able to do something with the bat. Derek Jeter wastes no time in bringing the first run home for the prescriptions. And later in the inning, a wild pitch makes it 2-0 prescriptions early. We turn to the Tigers half of the first. You know, the idea here is that they're one of the worst teams of all time, but it is a team. They're not subject to some absurd criteria like the other teams in the tournament, and well, I'm gonna be honest with you, Tigers fans, that's a bad sign. Victor Reyes admires his ticket back to the dugout. Harold Castro swinging. And Castellanos, this guy was good enough to be trade bait, but he's down on 3 pitches. We carry over to the second. Jordy Mercer must have been looking at something else. He's number 4. There's number 5. And the 6th batter, Miguel Cabrera, finally breaks the streak up, 3 short of the record. But Jacoby Jones is up next and he says, "Sorry I'm late, guys. I heard there was a strikeout party." We go to the 4th, and with Ray Durham at the plate, Winfield steals second with ease. And later at that at-bat, Ray scores him on a line drive. 3-0 prescriptions. We go to more Bill Daly. The guy only pitched 3 years in the late 1800s, being released by the Boston Reds in 1891. He was 23 and had a sub-3 ERA that year, the best of his career, so it seems like there's a story there, but I just couldn't turn up anything in my research. Let's assume he was eaten by a bear. Still sitting on 6 strikeouts in the 5th, Miguel Cabrera whiffs. John Hicks says, "That looks fun." And Spencer Turnbull was trying to remember if he left the stove on. Strikes out the side, putting his game total up at 9. We go to the top of the 8th with Dave Winfield at the plate. He's already generated some offense by stealing a base and riding home on Ray Durham's single. He generates some more, this time on his own. 4-0 prescriptions. And I've got a joke for you. What do you call it when Nicholson and Kennedy had to share a hotel room with one bed, felt that their masculinity was threatened, but neither would concede the bed for the floor? It's back-to-back Jacks. The joke is a stretch, but I committed to it. 5-0 prescriptions. And rubbing salt in the already festering wound that was the Tigers' 2019, Piazza adds one more. Detroit gets a meaningless 2 runs in the 9th, and we end up at 6-2. Story of the game has to be Bill Daly. He gets the complete game, which is probably just par for the course for his era, throwing 125 pitches, striking out 12, and walking 4. Durham's going to start the tournament with 1,000 batting average, and on the Tigers side, not much to talk about. They put up 2 in the 9th, but even one of those was the result of a double play. So all in all, an embarrassing performance out of that group.
Today we get a look at 2 teams for the very first time, the Banana Fananas and Glory Days. Glory Days, of course, being that team that is made up of players who throughout history started their careers in amazing form, and it then all went badly. The Banana Fananas are just players whose names made us giggle. The story of this is Dizzy Trout versus Walt Droppo, which sounds like the undercard on a pro wrestling event at your local bar, but is actually a classic story of revenge in the time-honoured traditions of the Count of Monte Cristo, Hamlet, and The Giving Tree 2, The Tree Fights Back. See, despite spending 13 years in Detroit, being a 2-time All-Star and World Series champion, Dizzy Trout was traded by the Tigers to the Red Sox for Walt Droppo, a slight that didn't set well with Dizzy, or at least that's what we're going with for narrative purposes. So here, this legendary blood feud is reignited as Dizzy is the starting pitcher for the Banana Fananas as they take on Glory Days with Droppo batting 3rd. We pick things up in the bottom of the 2nd, no score, and run Babbitt run! Shooty Babbitt tears round the bases with a 1-out triple, but then Pickles comes to the plate. He makes contact for an exit velocity of 101 miles per hour, which is the same speed as the world record for a snowmobile. Unfortunately, this play ended up as exciting as that fact, as Pickles grounds out, and then Tony Suck does exactly what you'd expect someone with his name to do, and the inning ends. Now to our blood feud. It's the top of the 4th. Dizzy still hasn't given up a hit, including making Droppo ground out to show it in the 1st. Here he gets back-to-back strikeouts on the Glory Days duo of Listash and Crosby before his old nemesis steps to the plate. That's a flyout, and Droppo, who only lasted 2 years with the Tigers before they realised their mistake, is 0 for 2. The first run of this game came in the bottom of the 4th. Pete Lecoq-Sack flies out. Wait, sorry, that's poor spacing on the script. Pete Lecoq, Sack flies, and the chickens come home to roost. Or rather, Chicken Wolf comes home to score, and the Banana Fananas lead 1-0. Dizzy takes his no-hitter into the 5th before Hinske finally gets a 1-out single, but Trout gets back-to-back foul outs and strikeouts to preserve the lead. He's still going in the 6th, but after Walton reaches on an error, the Glory Days decide it's time for a pinch hitter, and they send in Dontrell Willis from their bullpen, in a stunning show of faith for their bench hitters. While it would be nice to know the thinking behind this, Willis actually hits the ball down the first baseline, and that famous leg kick sends him all the way to second. Now it's second and third with no outs, and the frickin' frack duo of Listash and Crosby strike out once again, meaning it's Trout versus Droppo, take 3. This time Trout has completely got into Droppo's head, and he weakly grounds the first pitch he sees back to Dizzy to end the inning. Bottom of the 6th now, and it's Babbitt season, as he drives one to right, and that's sweet as honey to Crisp as he scores. It's 2-0, and Coco will do more damage in the bottom of the 7th. Dizzy proves he's not just going to stick it to Droppo from the mound as he beats out an infield single, and Coco will score him with a crisp single to make it 3-0. Glory Days now fall apart. Listash juggles the ball instead of throwing it, and by the time that little party trick is over, Lockout is on. This gives Babbitt the chance to shooty the ball up the middle and score 2. It's 5-0, and all that remains is for Dizzy to wrap up his complete game. And who does he face with one out? Droppo. How can he make Droppo be the last player he faces? Double play. Will Droppo oblige? And with that, the revenge is complete. Dizzy rides off into the sunset, his team victorious, the perfect ending. It's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Unfortunately, we at the Dugs are going to have to Crystal Skull this thing because there's more games to play. Union Jacks and Banana Fananas now lead Group B, and next time up we'll see the Banana Fananas take on the Big Bones, and Glory Days will attempt to recapture just that against the Union Jacks. Before all that though, Johnny Paprika will be back with the next round of Group A games, and I can only assume the Dugs Tech crew have thrown up some links for you to like and subscribe to by this point. I've been Hamish Hamden, and this has been a 5-0 win for the Banana Fananas.